So, Brian, I really loved working with you. And I want to ask you, what was your experience like before we started working together? Like, where were you at in your life?
So before I started meeting with you, I was really struggling hearing back from jobs I was applying to. I started applying to internships probably in January. I must have applied to about 50 companies, and I heard back from one or two, and I didn't even make it past the phone screening. So after meeting with you and really fixing up my resume, I heard back from every single person I applied to and got interviews with them. So I'm just really thankful that I met you and you were able to give me that extra push. So yeah.
That's so wonderful. Well, you had really the desire and the passion. What do you think was the difference for you as well how did you feel when you were interviewing with them? Like after you got the calls and you're starting to get the calls now, there was a
Right.
moment like, oh, what do I do now? So how did you feel with working together on telling your story? How did that, sit with them or with
Right.
yourself?
So I think I took a class in college where they helped you with interviews, but it was like a 250 person class. And I really felt like I needed that one on one connection with somebody to help me just focus on me. And I feel just meeting with you really unlocked a lot of potential that I knew I had, but I just needed the extra push. So I'm definitely very grateful that I met you.
That's so great. So, what is one of the stories, Brian, in talking to the accounting firms that you felt really stood out where you felt like in that moment, they were like, I got you. Like, I know what you're about. Was there one in particular story that you told over and over again? You're like, oh, this is the one that I feel like it sits well with them.
Right. So I, yeah. So an example of that would be when I participated in the PwC case competition through the university at Buffalo. And this was actually a really interesting story because the case competition is only a week long. And my original team actually disbanded halfway through the week. So I was placed with um, these new kids who I've never met before, but I didn't want to just drop out of the competition. So I decided to work with them. And I was able to bring new ideas to the table of my new team. And we ultimately placed in first place in the case competition. And I was really just able to display my teamwork abilities, my communication abilities, and my abilities to bring ideas to the table. So that was really cool. And every single company I talked to absolutely loved that story.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that was a great story. Absolutely. Good.
Right.
Wow. And what other things do you feel, where did the confidence start to come in for you? Was it after the first interview or second interview or, all the kind of stories that we came up with?
Right. So definitely so I went into every interview a little bit nervous. However, after about 2 minutes into the interview, it was a lot more casual than I thought. I thought, I mean, I had only one interview where I came to the interview and they just started listing off questions and I had to answer them. But I was really able to turn the interview more into a conversation, which really, really, really helped bring like the stress down and didn't make it feel like a job interview.
Exactly, which we had talked about. And
Right.
so what were some of the stories like this? The competition is amazing. But when people would ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself, what are the stories that we came up with that you felt so much more comfortable telling, if you can remember?
Right. So I talked about how I live on Long Island. and how I have a really strong sense of community here. I talked about how I work like a dog over the summer. I work 60 plus hours a week over the summer, and really how I um, developed my interest in accounting, which started back in third grade when we used to have these multiplication quizzes, and how my high school football teacher taught his high school accounting class my senior year and persuaded me to take it, and I ended up falling in love with it. So that was also really cool.
So that's interesting because I know that's a story that we had come up with. And even you telling it right now, I'm like so interested and I'm like, oh, we came up with that story. So did you feel like, could you see their body language, like getting more interested in you by telling that story, by going back into your kind of childhood of where it all sort of started for you?
Yeah, definitely. It was just so funny because in high school, I never ever even gave accounting a thought until my football coach made me take his class. And it was the first class I was really good at. So it was nice. Yeah.
That is so great. And then you had questions to ask them afterwards as well. So that must have been helpful. When
What do
they
you mean?
have anything to ask us about our firm or what have you.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's so great. So how did it feel to get all the we want yous? How
Oh,
did
it
that
was
feel for you?
it was awesome. I honestly I lost back in January. I was like, wow, this is really difficult. I always saw myself working for the big one of the big accounting firms, but back in January, I was thinking to myself, wow, maybe I I'm struggling to find one with just these local firms. So I lost a lot of confidence in myself, I guess. So it was really nice.
That's great. What is one or two of the takeaways that you would say to other people kind of in the same predicament you were in, something you really wanted, a dream that you wanted to fulfill, but didn't know which direction to go in? What are like two or the three things, takeaways that you felt working with your career design lab really helped in terms of getting where you are now?
Um, by far, the biggest takeaway I would say is just be yourself and be authentic, because everybody has their own story and everybody has an interesting story.
Yep.
Um, yeah, but
Yeah. And do you feel like the resume and the cover letter, the more branded look to it? You were saying before you didn't get any calls, and now
right.
with branded resume, how did that like? How did that feel when people called you on it?
It felt good. Um, I think the major difference was making my resume sound um, more useful in the field of accounting instead of just explaining what I did.
Exactly. Because we had talked about you being a bartender basically for the summers and a caddy in
Right.
that accounting thing and really having no background in accounting, but yet we were able to write about that in a way that it had a lot of accounting to it.
Yeah.
And so when people were asking you about your summer job, you were able to speak more to the accounting. Were you able to do more of that when they asked you about what you did at Salt, the place where you work?
Yeah. So I was able to um, discuss the teamwork abilities that I gained from it, the communication abilities I gained from it, and yeah,
Oh, that's so great. Well, Brian, I wish you all the best in your finding your dream career because it really is. And I
right.
know you're going to kill it. And I'm just so happy for you. I'm so happy you can have fun this summer as well, knowing that you got it in your pocket now.
Thank you. One other thing that I also noticed was my writing abilities. I feel since I started meeting with you have I have really grown too. That was something interesting I found. I was never really the strongest writer, and uh, I'm taking this class right now called UB Capstone, where you reflect on your on all the on all the classes you've taken in college, and I've really been able to express myself in my writing better too. So that was really interesting to see.
Wow. And what do you think attribute? Where did that come from? Just from us speaking, or that's
Just from us speaking and just talking about myself with you so much. Yeah,
that so it helped you to go deeper into yourself and be able to articulate it.
correct. Right.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Brian, I just wish you the best. I can't wait to hear about your successes. And thank you so much for working with me. It was really my honor working with you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.